everyone, and a special welcome to the recipient of this reading, Gina. Hi, Gina. In today's video, we're going to be doing a New Year's reading for Gina, and if you're interested in seeing what this reading type looks like in practice, I encourage you to stay with us. And also to check out my website where the New Year's readings are already available at different tiers and, different options. You can choose to be a monthly subscriber and receive a discount, or you can make a one-time purchase and receive a reading within a few days. For today's reading, I'm going to be using the Grier Tarot, illustrated by Grier. It's one of those classic tarot decks, that I think every tarot reader should have in their collection, and I've been wanting to get it for a long time now. Finally, I was able to get my hands on it. So it's a beautiful deck. It's a great deck. It's really easy to read. So I would even recommend it for, beginner tarot readers. It's easy to use. And we're going to be using this deck for your reading, Gina. Alright, now let's get into it. I'm actually using this deck for your reading for the very first time. I have already thoroughly shuffled the cards, but I think it's a good idea to shuffle again. And while I do, I'd like you to think a little bit about how this year has been for you and what you would like to see happen in the upcoming year. So, by the way, this will be an example for the quarterly New Year's reading. So, I pick a card for each year quarter. So, one card per 3 months. And that way, we're kind of looking at the process of how the upcoming year is going to unfold. Okay. So, allow me to fan the cards. And let's get into it. Okay, Gina, so you asked me to incorporate the idea of health and wellness into this reading as well, so I'm going to be interpreting the cards with that in mind. And the first card is going to represent the underlying energy of the upcoming year. So that's what's behind. Everything that's about to happen. Okay. So as I explained, the next 4 cards are going to represent 3 months of the year each. So let's start with January, February, and March. Okay. And then let's get into April, May, August, and September. And finally, October, November, and December. Okay. So if we need some further clarification, we're going to refer back to the deck over here. But for now, let's see these 5 cards and what they reveal about the upcoming year for you. Okay. So, the first card is the Fool. Interesting. January, February, and March, we have the Page of Cups. April, May, and June, we have the Ace of Cups. July, August, and September, 5 of Pentacles. Okay. And October, November, and December, we have the Devil. Interesting. So, first of all, the underlying energy of this upcoming year, 2021, is signaled by the Fool. The Fool is a major arcana card, and as such, it is representative of some deep archetypal and impactful movements in our lives. The Fool is 0. So this is the first card, actually, of the major arcana. And it represents an absolute new beginning. So, in many ways, it seems like you're dropping a lot of your baggage, almost all of your baggage, and leaving it behind in the year 2020. And if you're, interested in learning more about what health and wellness benefits the new year has to offer to you, well, the Fool is a card of renewal. So there's hope, there's optimism, there's a completely new way, a new lifestyle that you can lead starting from 2021. And especially in the beginning, so the first few cards, the first 2 cards, the first half of the year seems especially optimistic and full of opportunities and full of momentum in that sense, especially from a point of view of emotional healing, because we have cups here, and cups represent water. So they are connected with the water element, the element of feelings, the heart. And so the Fool is reason for a lot of optimism. The number 0, it's basically a circle, and it represents the emptiness, the completion, the sense of completion that comes from having a blank slate in front of us, a completely new beginning, a new chance to start over. However, as with any card, there are some downsides here and some warnings. The Fool can be, as indicated by its name, a little bit foolish. So, the fact that you are leaving a lot of your old life behind you, and that you're walking into 2021 with a mindset of starting over and throwing your preconceptions away. You're also throwing some of your experience, some of your routines out the window. From one perspective, that's a good thing, because you can be a lot more spontaneous and respond a lot better to some of the new challenges that come your way. And you can be more present with the Fool. However, you're also rejecting and denying and discarding some of your old methods, some old coping mechanisms, and habits and routines that helped you stay afloat. And so, the Fool is asking you to start learning everything from 0 again. And that's not always an easy thing to do, especially if you've lived for a while, especially if you have, if you're set in your ways. But the Fool is definitely inviting you, and your soul is ready to jump into something entirely different and to treat situations and the internal processes that are happening within you with a very different perspective, a very different method. And that is very unusual from one point of view, because the change seems a little bit abrupt. And I think towards the end of the year, there's going to be more challenges that you're going to be presented with in relation to that. So I'm seeing this as a rejection of the old path and welcoming the new. And the first half of the year, like I said, is dominated by the happiness, the euphoria of this new way, this new life. The Page of Cups, the very first card to represent January, February, and March. It's quite a happy card. The Page of Cups is emotional openness, a readiness to express yourself, but also to learn from others. It's a willingness to meet another person halfway to make compromises, and to speak other people's love languages. There's a humility to the Page of Cups. A tendency to want to make peace and leave your self-importance outside the door and apologize, even if you haven't done anything bad. The primary source of contentedness and happiness for the Page of Cups is harmony. And he is a student of harmony. So he's willing to do anything it takes to acquire and to understand the skills of love. So this new pathway for you, which I think is dominated by a desire and a need to open up emotionally, the first half of the year is going to be very, very successful at that. So you're gonna be able to make a big difference in your life, utilizing this extra energy that is, surfacing with the Fool being present underneath it all. And so the Page of Cups, it's like your soul opening its doors and allowing other people to come in. You're accepting guests in your heart now, and that might not have been the case before. Perhaps you were more isolated, more emotionally withdrawn. But now you're taking the opportunity and inviting other people in. And it's very emotionally and psychologically purifying, I think, to have this experience at the beginning of the year, to allow for these connections to happen. And it comes really easily. What I'm getting from the first two cards is that it's essentially smooth sailing in the first half of the year. You have the humility, the patience, and the openness to change your ways, to open yourself up to new emotional experiences. And in the second quarter, we have the Ace of Cups. That's quite a beautiful card too. And it's also cups, so it also has to do with emotions. And so the Ace of Cups is about the ability to have a breakthrough. It's things lining up for you psychologically, emotionally, and perhaps environmentally to experience sort of a safe space, an environment where you can easily and safely experiment with your emotions, where you can finally release certain things that have been on your mind, that have been weighing on your soul. It's a beautiful experience, really, of purging some negativity that's been present in your life. And I also wanted to mention that the two Cups cards here in the beginning, they are also very creative cards. So they represent playfulness, a desire to experiment and to present your feelings in an artistic form, perhaps. So things are going pretty well at this point. You're opening up. You're even able to process some very difficult feelings, traumas from the past. Now, I'm not saying that it's necessarily painless, because the Ace of Cups always comes with lots of tears, but it's the kind of tears that relieve you, that make you capable of continuing with your life, with the weight being lifted, with your soul a little bit lighter than before. And so the first half is very therapeutic and very much focused on the feelings, the internal world. But then in the second half, we have the external world knocking on your door, making its presence known. And so in the third quarter, which is July, August, and September, we have the Five of Pentacles showing up. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you. The Five of Pentacles is about, in most cases, financial hardship, issues with money, or other resources that are making your life difficult, more difficult than it should be, ideally. And in a great way, it's also about our fears and anxieties surrounding money. And so, with the Fool in combination, because, that's the underlying energy, the idea is, or the message is, that due to your different focus, your transformation here that the Fool represents, and these, emotional shifts and changes that these two cards represent, your concentration, your focus is not really on the world, on the mundane side of things. And there's possibly a moment here, a point in time here, where the external world takes its revenge. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, if you neglect certain responsibilities or certain issues that you don't have energy for, or you just don't feel like dealing with for a long time, they come to the surface and they will hurt you in some way or another. So it's very important to manage, the intensity of how much the Five of Pentacles is going to be present during this period. If you do not delegate or plan to save some energy to deal with these practical things as well, if you get too caught up in the emotional journey that you're quite obviously on, the Five of Pentacles might come in and become a big problem for you. So this is just a little bit of a warning to try to keep it under bay. It might still, even if you try to pay attention, it might still surface and make your life a little more difficult than it should be. But it will not be as catastrophic. It will not be as intense and brutal. The Five of Pentacles can be kind of problematic, even from a health perspective. So it's okay to keep your focus on your psychology, on your soul, on your spirit, but forgetting about the material, forgetting about the body completely is very disadvantageous. And finally, the devil. Now, this could go either way. The devil is a weird card, and especially when the fool and the devil meet, there's some really tricky energies. There's some really tricky things going on. So, depending on how well you were able to handle, the Five of Pentacles, the devil might create an awkward situation. The devil can indicate a relapse if you have any, addictive patterns in your life. It always speaks about destructive and less advantageous habits when it comes to, health and habits. You gotta be really careful here towards the end of the year not to allow chaos to take over your life. Don't allow subconscious tendencies and pains and difficulties to take charge. This could be the subconscious going to war against you, and it could be, you just losing control over your life. So from a health perspective, with the devil, it's really, really important to make an extra effort to keep it together and to pay attention to, any illnesses, any recurring health problems, and take preventative measures, because the devil represents all those processes, all those things that come from the depths of our weaknesses. And these weaknesses, they can be psychological, or they can be, bodily weaknesses. So they can be on a physiological level as well. So just be extra careful. And I think a lot of it depends on how you handle these months with the Five of Pentacles, how prepared you're gonna be, how much attention you've paid to your body throughout the year. Even though these emotional revelations, they do have a positive effect on your life and even on your body's health, but it's also important to not just stop and be satisfied with that, but to keep your attention and your focus on having a healthy diet, a heavy exercise plan, healthy habits in general, and keeping those things aligned with the progress that you're making on the emotional front. So all in all, I think this seems to be a good year, but you got to be careful, and you have to prioritize, I think, your bodily wellness and health, especially towards the second half of the year. So I hope that you enjoy this reading, Gina. Thank you everybody else as well for sticking around and watching this reading. And I hope to see you all in another